I am sure sports. You know me there, from coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get your sports over here from near and far. Boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never seen a game, me no know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you are gonna love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crapper players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment. Let me know what your thoughts are.
Trinnic Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
Made up of 18 Jamaican herbs and spices, add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Trick Nick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.
All right, greetings, good evening, and welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I am your host, Maninsman. It's always a joy and a pleasure to be with you. Again, we are alive, and every day that we are alive, we give thanks for life. You understand me? How life is and the circumstances of life is. You know, man, I'm telling you, it's not guaranteed. So if you haven't done so yet, just take a little step back and give thanks for life. I want to encourage you as well to use the opportunity of you being alive to add value to someone's life. Maybe a family, maybe a friend. Live your life to add value every day, to make somebody else's life better. Don't be just concerned with your own benefit, but the benefit of others. And if all of us seek to build the rest of us, then all of us will be built up stronger and better. This is I Am Sure Sports, and we pride ourselves on doing hard work and good work, and we pride ourselves on learning. We live to learn, and we learn to live. I want to welcome you to the platform. If this is your first time, good evening and welcome. If you have not yet, you can go ahead, hit the like button. You can subscribe, like, and share. All right. Please know that. A big thank you to the sponsors of this video. The sponsors are Prestige Finance, lending a helping hand. When you need it the most, you can call them at 876-884-7390. They are located in Linstead, St. Catherine, Jamaica, and they're offering loans of up to 100,000 Jamaican dollars. That's just a little bit above 900 US dollars. If you go there, they'll lend you that. And here's the good deal: there is no processing fee, same day processing, and only 0 to 4% interest rate. Here's a good thing: you can use that to help you with your back to school expenses. Also, to Launch Legacy, where they handle risk and seek legacy for all your personal insurance needs in Canada and the USA. Visit them at launchlegacy.com or call or text them at 647-989-0782. When you stop working for money, Launch Legacy will get your money working for you. I have the great privilege, Dre Anyweather, Blue Mountain Entertainment Group, Jason, Eagle Republic, Tyrone, M10, King Job, Gunners Boss. Oh my lord. Yes, you know I have to pick up the Gunners Boss because I'm an Arsenal man. And we have Tottenham coming up. And that will be another win for the Gunners. I can tell you, Dwight, bless up as well. But I have the pleasure today. I mean, this I'm so excited about this interview, right? Because I've heard so much about this person. Every time we talk about persons who should have played for Jamaica, his name comes up. And the question is always asked, how did we allow him to not play for us? That's how he's highly rated in the eyes of the Jamaican public. We have him today, and hopefully, he can give us the answer. He's not elusive, so it's not his fault why he has not been interviewed. Nobody has really sought him out. So I have some good friends who said to me they're going to bring him out of self-imposed exile in Colorado, and he is here to talk to us on I Am Sure Sports. His name is Robin Fraser, who has played in the MLS. He went to FIU. So there you go. And he's now the head coach at Colorado Rapids. He has also worked with some other major league clubs. So we are going to have him come and share his story with us, his journey with us. So give him a warm welcome when he arrives. And I know he won't be seeing you, but yeah, make him feel welcome to the platform. Coach Robin Fraser, welcome.
Thank you very much. So happy to be here. Hey, you said something I didn't realize. You're a Gunners fan. You know,
Hey,
our team is owned by the same
Cranky,
organization. Yeah, exactly.
can,
So
can you tell them, please, if you ever talk to them, just tell them, please, we need somebody just to cover for Thomas party in January,
yeah,
just in case, right? That's all we need. That's all we need to get into the top four. We need cover for
right,
Thomas Party. You understand me?
right.
Because some people believe that Thomas Party is actually 40, but
Yeah.
so he's getting a little bit more injured.
Listen, you've been suffering for a while, but it looked like I'm turning things around now.
Yeah, but you know what? The franchises owned by the Crankies have been doing well. The
Hmm.
Denver Nuggets have been in the NBA playoffs, right?
Yeah,
They won NHL national
yeah.
the Stanley Cup. They also won the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
So is the next thing the MLS or the Premier League?
Well, it's not going to be the MLS this year, but the Premier League is certainly possible.
You can't make the
And we
playoffs. You can't make the playoffs again.
we got eliminated last night. We didn't play, but
Oh,
LA played a game that because they won, they're now out of reach. And after winning the West last year, we had a really good year last year. At the end of the day, we just didn't play well enough on too many occasions, and we were hanging in there, hoping for a break this weekend and a couple more breaks over the next couple of weeks. But with LA winning last night, we actually got eliminated last night. So
whoa!
so
So
it
it
go,
wasn't
so
really.
it go.
It wasn't really in your hands.
No, and it was in our hands because of how we played this year, and too many games got away from us, too many mistakes, but you live and you learn, So we'll come back better next year.
Okay, that's a good conversation to have. Just so having made it to the Western Conference final last
Yeah,
last.
so we won the Western Conference last year,
Yeah.
and then we got knocked out in the playoffs. But in the regular season, we won the Western Conference. So New England was first overall, and we were second overall in the league last year.
Yeah.
And then this year, I don't think New England will make the playoffs. I'm not sure. I haven't looked lately.
Whoa.
But yeah, it's been a
So are
topsy-turvy
you
kind
still
of
in?
year.
Are you in any position to kind of stop anybody else, or like it's like nothing games left for you to look at?
I,
Players
I
from
have to
going into
I have to look at it. We have 2 games left, and we're certainly going to take the opportunity to A, look at some young players, and B, at the end of the day, whether you can win the competition or not, you're still trying to win every single
win every
game.
game.
Professional pride, you know what I mean? So it's not
Yeah.
like we're going to roll over for the last 2 games. We're certainly going to try to win the last 2 games.
All right, awesome. We don't even get to the MLS part yet, but first thing, when the people hear you, they're going to say that you're Jamaican because you don't sound. There is no sound of American in you. People say this is but this is a real yard man.
Yeah.
That's what they would
So
say. So
so
tell
when
us
you
the
when,
Yardman
hold
story.
on. All right, so hold on. Before I even got there, I have a friend down there who I hadn't seen in a long time and saw him last year, went down last year, and he was commenting about how Jamaican I sound. But then when him hear me get interviewed, him say, wait, you do him sound like a Jamaican? I said, listen, man, you have to be a chameleon. You know what I mean? When in Rome. So
You do what you do.
now that I'm in Jamaica, you know, I have to sound like a Jamaican.
Okay, okay, all right, all right, get it. So
Yeah, man.
again, welcome, and just why don't you just begin by sharing with us your story when you started playing football and
Yeah,
at
man.
what stage you left Jamaica to go to the States and just your high school and college career, and then we'll ask a couple of
All right.
questions in that. Yeah.
You know, my first memory of really falling in love with football, in 1974, they showed World Cup games at the arena. And my father took me on 2 occasions to go watch games. And from that, I was hooked, man. It's a balled up pair.
1994?
74,
Oh,
74,
74. Oh,
74. A
I
long
was
time. I'm old enough. I'm well old. But he took me to watch games there. And I think I went on 2 occasions, maybe watched 4 games. And I was hooked. Man, I love it. And everything in my life was football from that moment on. And I went to St. Peter and Paul. And as we were talking about prior to coming on here, I had the great pleasure of meeting who was my oldest friend, Chris Zadie. Chris Zadie and myself were friends and first played in St. Peter and Paul when we were 7. And obviously, Chris passed away this week, and very sad occasion, but so many great memories with him and such a great family that certainly my condolences go out to his family. And you know, Chris is somebody who will always be missed. But we started at St. Peter and Paul, played there for a number of years, and then my family migrated to the US in my last year at St. Peter and Paul, and I came to 6th grade in the US. And from here, my father actually started AYSO in Miami, which is American Youth Soccer Organization, a complete recreational league. That was the premise of it, but we didn't really know where to play. So myself and my closest friend in the world to this day still, Mark Barnett, who played at Hillel, and we used to play against each other in Jamaica. We moved up shortly afterwards, and he came up 3 months after me, and the two of us ended up playing together in this competition that my father had brought to Miami's American Youth Soccer Organization. And then from there, we did that for a while, and then we played in club soccer under Audley Hewitt. Audley Hewitt was an old KC guy who was about my father's age, kind of in that age range, and he was coaching his sons. So we went and played with him, South Miami Soccer Club, did that for a while, played and had fun. We always talked about being professional, but we had no idea what it would require. And then from there, went to Florida International University.
Oh, so you didn't actually play any soccer for a high school team. It's just the club
No,
team.
I did.
Oh.
So I went to Palmetto Senior High in Miami.
Okay.
And the team was just okay. We had 3 years of, again, it was fun and you work hard and this and that, but it wasn't a great level. And really, when I got to FIU, it was the first time that, well, I actually forgot to mention one thing. All throughout my South Miami soccer career, football career, as probably from 14 to 17, 18, Audley Hewitt was very close to Winston Chung. So Winston Chung used to come and coach us from time to time. He used to come and coach us from time to time. And I'm going to tell you something that I told him after I became a head coach in the league, in the MLS. I said, I saw him at the soccer convention that they have every year. And I said, Mr. Chung, because when he used to come as a little boy, oh man, we used to hate it. We can't push us so hard and work us. And, we were kind of typical talented players who didn't really want to work hard. We thought talent was enough. But I told Mr. Chung this after I became a head coach. It must have been as at Chivas years ago. I had no idea how Mr. Chung, people who are around him, have no idea what they had, meaning the guy got so much of it right. He was decades ahead of his time in Jamaica,
keep
as
on
far as I
hearing
can
that.
tell.
Yeah.
And not till I got older did I realize how right on he was. And this is going to sound kind of crazy, but when Pep Guardiola took the Barcelona team in 2011, and for me, the best team I've ever seen, but he kind of put the thoughts together that we all had. Everybody have an idea kind of what they wanted.
Yeah.
And when we saw what Pep did in 2011, so rotted, this is the culmination. This is what we wanted before we even knew exactly what we wanted. And the closest person to that, and again, it was just some of the minor details to tie it all together. The closest person to that I saw, looking back, was Winston Chung. He was decades ahead of his time. I mean, very, very fortunate to have gotten to know him. Used to hate when he used to push me as a 13, 14-year-old. And as I got to appreciate him, loved him to death by the end of my teen years. And I owe so much to him and so much of my development to him.
Yeah. Well, all right. So you went to FIU. I see Rob Simit saying that AYSO is why I chose American football. Man, I could afford AYSO when I just reached America.
Why? AYSO was the football here in this country has changed so much. Back then, we didn't know where to go and play competitively. And my father just found out about this and brought this in. And all of a sudden, we had somewhere to play. And that was good enough. We had no idea what was a good level, what was a bad level. We just wanted to play football.
And your father played football or coached it?
So my father, he tells me that he was going to play Manning Cup for KC one year. And the year that he was going to play polio epidemic in Jamaica called off Manning Cup.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there was actually a polio epidemic that actually caused the Manning Cup. I think there are a couple of times there has been no Manning Cup, and that was one of the occasions.
Okay. So God rest his soul. He passed away almost 20 years ago. But it's good to know then. He told me the truth.
All right. So, awesome. So tell us about the FIU journey. Because college soccer is more competitive.
Yeah. So
I don't
what
know
I
how
found
competitive
here
it was during your time,
then,
but when I listen to Tyrone Marshall and Andy Williams and Shavar and Wooldy, and so many of the other guys that I've interviewed who played in college, it seemed to be highly competitive. So
it really was. And the players just talked about, well, they played at Clemson. He was in the ACC, which was, if I had it to do all over again, that's a conference I would want to play in. It was a great conference. Tyrone was at FIU, but when Tyrone came to FIU, they were already Division I, and I believe one of the 2 years Tyrone was there, they went to the national final.
He was a center forward. Did you know that?
Yes, man, I know that. I know Tyrone. Tyrone's about 10 years younger than me, but I had an eye on him still. Who else did you just mention? So when I went to FIU,
there was Andy Williams,
right?
As well.
We went Rhode Island, I think.
Rhode Island, right.
Yeah. And for us at FIU, it was competitive. I mean, we won Division II my first year. We lost in the final my second year of Division II. And then we transitioned to Division I. I never played a playoff game again. But anyway, that is how it goes. That is how it goes. But my time at FIU was eye-opening for me because my coach was all about hard work and only hard work, and you have to defend like crazy, and you can't. I mean, any little thing, you find yourself in trouble. You're running, and I actually played with Andrew Price. I played with Andrew Price at FIU.
At FIU,
yeah, man.
So you and Andrew Price were locking down the defense.
Me and Price round the back, I deal with things. Basically, Price was breaking guys in half, and I was picking them back up.
But if you played with Andrew Price, that means Chipper Morgan, because Chipper Morgan and Andrew Price played on the same St. George's team, and he was the main striker for them, and I think they all went away the same time to play college football.
I'm trying to think if I know Chipper. I know the name. I've known the name forever. And we probably met on a few occasions. But I don't remember where he went to university. I can't remember.
So after that, you'd have been drafted because...
So after that, after FIU, there was no MLS. In fact, my senior year in high school, 1984, NASL folded. And that's when we're saying, oh, we don't have anywhere to play professionally. But there were small leagues around, the American Professional Soccer League. And I went and played for the Colorado Foxes. And I played there for, I want to say 6 years, maybe, before MLS started. So I went to Colorado in 1990. And I played 90 through 95 with the Foxes. And then in 96, MLS started.
Wasn't Walter Boyd at the Colorado Foxes?
Walter came and played. Yes, we played a couple of years. I think we must have played 2 years together with the Colorado Foxes. Lon Donaldson was the coach.
Right, Lon Donaldson was the coach.
Yeah,
There, so Lon Donaldson coached you.
Yeah. I played with him. My first year up there, Lon played. I think Lon is about 10 years older than me. And he played that first year with the Foxes. And then the rest of the time, he was either assistant coach or head coach. But even when he was assistant coach, he ran the whole thing. So Lon, yeah, man, me and Lon close. I see him all the time. He coaches the club where my daughter plays.
Oh, you're right.
We didn't talk about that. I have a daughter that play.
Yeah, you know what the people are saying, because somebody sent in a question and I told them, listen, I can't do that. You have to come on the chat today. Forget the name of the person. I forgot her first name, but they said that please, if I don't come on, ask Mr. Fraser to get his daughter to play for Jamaica. She's a real talent.
Yeah, man, I'm proud of her. She just left today to go on the pre-camp, and then she's going to the under-17 World Cup with the US. So
she's gone. See, people,
yeah,
she's gone. She's gone. Yeah. She's gone to the US. Oh,
she actually in CONCACAF qualifying. She played against Jamaica in the tournament about 3 months ago in Dominican Republic.
Played in the game.
She played in the game against Jamaica.
Know, man. What is going on here? So we're going to have to ask about that. So
yeah, man.
What causes coaches to like Jamaicans, a person with Jamaican connection, because we have a program that we have qualified for the second World Cup, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not like we have an array of talent, because a lot of the girls who did well in the under-17 and under-20 are those who are in the ones who are actually in college.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Overseas, who came and like they grew up in the American system, because they're at, because I think female soccer, the quality is so high in the States, mm-hmm. that even if you get say a B US team, it's still going to be competitive,
right,
against even the Jamaica and the other teams, just because of how vast the talent is. So sure. I want to know, like, seeing that it is so competitive, right? Wouldn't Jamaica be an option? Seeing that we are on the up and up and we have qualified for the second World Cup. We have a young Jody Brown who at 17 played in the World Cup for Jamaica.
Okay.
So I'm just asking that, like, was there ever that consideration? I don't want to go ahead of myself because I haven't asked about you representing.
Right. Yeah. No, we can talk about her. We can talk about her for a second. There really wasn't any thought about, and there was no talk about Nikki going to play for Jamaica.
This is the person saying that.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that many of the Reggae Girls fans would welcome the prodigious Nicola Fraser for the Reggae Girls at some point.
So it was just something that was never even an option. And to be honest, she kind of came out of nowhere. She was in an under 14 like regional thing about 2 months before COVID hit. And so that was it, the only exposure she had. Yeah, man, these are guys I played with in college. The only exposure she had was that, and then nothing. And then the under-17 coach went to look at her and apparently didn't like her, so she wasn't chosen initially. And then this all just came together in the last probably 4 months. The first time she was ever with the 17s was for the qualifying. She didn't even do a camp before that. So she was with the 17 for the thing at CONCACAF, and then she just went to Spain a couple of weeks ago, and then now she got to the World Cup. So her rise has been meteoric, and we could never have anticipated that this was going to happen. But I tell you what, the girl worked so hard during COVID. In that 3 or 5 months, me and her were training all the time, and she just, her game just took off, and her confidence level took off. And the funny thing is, she always thinks she's a fullback, and she might play left. She's left-footed, She might play left back at the tournament, but she's going to end up being a central defender. And when I watch this girl play, she has never seen me play. I cannot believe how much she looked like me and how she does things like me. It's unbelievable. So them said DNA is a funny thing, you know. But we'll see. You know, after this tournament, you never know what happens.
There you go. So I must ask, right? So your daughter, I mean, shows in the United States, all good. Maybe when she gets to the senior level, never can tell. Maybe things will change. But why? What? So let's get to your story, and because we're gonna go through the MLS stuff, but during all of this time you were playing at FIU, a lot of guys. Andre Price was coming back to play for the national team. U teams, Tyrone Marshall, were you ever called up? Was there ever an option for you to represent Jamaica before you got to Colorado? And then when you got to Colorado, Lauren, who is a Jamaican, Walter Boyd was there. Were you on the radar of the Jamaican team? How did you not play for Jamaica?
So when I think it was my senior year in high school, Mr. Chung took 6 of us from our team in Miami down to try out for the under-20s. And we're there for a weekend or something. And of the 6 of us, at least 3 of us 100% should have made the team. And nobody got a call back. Nobody got anything. And kind of scrape around to find feedback. And the feedback we got was the coaches said, them don't want an uptown boy. So I don't know what classifies uptown boy. My parents happened to move me to Miami. And I don't know if that classifies me as an uptown boy, but all I wanted to do was play football. And all I wanted to do was play football for Jamaica. So we went down there.
I'm not going to ask you who the coach was because that would not be good.
I think I remember is who. And I actually, after being with the US team for, a couple of years, I got in touch with this person or with somebody before the 1994 World Cup because Bora Milutinovic had let me go with the US team and there was no real route back. And it must have been before 98. Yeah, it must have been before 98. And I called up a couple of months before and said, is there a possibility to get in? Because Jamaica going to the World Cup. I wasn't in the US program at the time. 1998, I would have been doing really, really well in MLS and called somebody who, I wasn't the head coach, but I called somebody in the Jamaican program and I was told not interested. So I tried when I was 17. I tried again when I want to say 20, maybe 30.
And which MLS club you were playing for at that time?
Galaxy.
You're at the Galaxy.
And we had lost in the final, and I had been best 11 in 96. And again, I guess that would have been the
1998 World Cup, because at this time now, you had like players coming from the States, because you had Dean Swill, Paul Young, Altiman Butler, and Andy Williams.
Andy, I was going to say Andy played that time too, right?
Right. And Walter Boyd had given up his Colorado contract to come and play as well.
I didn't remember that about Walter, because I was already gone. I was in LA then, and Walter must have stayed and played with the Foxes for at least one more year after I left, something like that.
And so in all of this, because so at 17, the coach, have you ever spoken to this coach and asked him what was his like?
No, I'm a 17-year-old. I'm counting on Mr. Chung to give me feedback, and I never know anybody who to talk to. Just go down there and play because I want to play and I wanted to play for Jamaica and that sort of thing. And didn't get the feedback I was hoping for, and they weren't interested. And then 4 years later, I was on the senior US team. So that's how it goes.
Whoa. Right. Yes. So you have 27 caps with the US senior team.
Yeah. So I started with the US team in 1988. And if I graduated from high school in 1984, I think it was the spring of 1984 we were down there trying out. And as I said, 6 of us went down from the team up in Miami that Mr. Chung used to help with all the time. And of the 6 of us, 3 of us should have 100% made it, in my opinion. But It wasn't to be.
You remember who the other two players were with you?
Well, Mark Barnett was one. I spoke about Mark earlier.
Right. Oh, that's your
And,
best friend.
and Mark was somebody who scored 108 goals in 3 years in high school and was one of the most recruited players in the entire country of any persuasion, not just one of the most highly recruited Jamaicans. He played in a high school All-American game that had Tab Ramos, Peter Vermees, Derek Smythe. These are guys who all went on to play for the U.S. national team. Mark was in a high school all-star game with all of them, and was also apparently not good enough to make the under-20 team at that time. So
I'd love to know how the under-20 team did.
I don't know. I never followed up. I'd be curious.
Listen, I wonder, is anyone, and this is around 1980.
I think this is 1984. I think this is 1984 because I was still in high school. I think so.
All right. So if anyone knows how the under-20 team did that time, and somebody has put a coach name up there, but I'm not sure that it is that coach, so I'm not going to go ahead. But that is the past. So you were basic. I mean, I don't want it, but you wanted to. The opportunity didn't present itself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Very unfortunate. And that let me ask a next question, which is, and this seemed to be a systematic problem where players from the United States in particular have a hard time getting into the Jamaican system. Even as fans, I will say, as fans are guilty of this. Like, we will look to the EPL and to the championship in England. But when we hear of players in the MLS and other leagues even in college, we don't pay a lot of attention to them. Though the game in America is advancing so rapidly. When you think about the American team, the amount of players that they have playing at top clubs all across Europe, you feel like they could field an entire team, a starting 11 of players playing in one of the top teams in Europe. So it's showing that the game is progressing quickly.
Right.
But there seemed to be a reservation with the local coaching system to bring them in. And we saw that with the under 20. Do you have, is there anything that you could probably ascribe this to, or you could say, maybe this is it, this contributes to it?
Well, I think part of this is, I think this is not a question for those who have not been chosen. It's a question for those who are choosing not to bring these players in. But I do think that there is a bias. I saw this when I retired. I was coaching some kids in Arizona. I was in Arizona shortly when I stopped playing. And I remember the first day with this under-17 boys team, and I asked any of them if them watch MLS, and they're like, "No, MLS sucks. We're going to play in English Premier League. We're going to play in Europe." And I'm looking at them going, this is such a typical ignorant approach to American soccer. These are American kids, and they're talking about how MLS is no good and they want to go and play in Europe. And they have no idea how far away they are, miles away from it. But there's an impression that soccer in this country, football in this country is not good. There's an impression here that, if you're playing here, then it's not so great. But I'm telling you, what has happened in the last 30 years in this league, in this country, is talking about taking huge steps forward. And we have, the league is getting better. There's so many more resources going into it. The youth academies within the league. The level of coaching in this country has changed, which I think is changing the level of coaching within the league and national teams and that sort of thing. The US really, maybe 5-10 years ago, revamped their coaching licenses and brought in a lot of people from outside the country, and primarily Dutch. And they've really opened our eyes and modernized our thinking as coaches. And that's the thing, is that if you just sit back and go, yes, the US isn't the English Premier League, but a lot of countries also are not the English Premier League. And now there is a really good living to be made in this league. There's really high standards. There are good young players coming. When I was playing, the majority of the money went into old names with big stars. Now the majority of the money is going to 20, 21, 22-year-old players who are coming and excelling here and then going off to bigger leagues. So this is, I think, a great place to play. I think it is a great place, even as a developmental step to go. If you have aspirations to go to Europe, I think this is a great place to go because you're going to get discipline, you're going to get order, you're going to get structure, and these are things that you're going to need to as your career furthers, goes on down the road. So I think it's a real misconception that coming to the US, whether for college or professional, is some sort of a step down. I can't say that at all. If anything, it is a complementary step to where you want to go to.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I don't want to be all over the place, but because you're going down this path, we kind of had some questions I want to stick to, but because you're going down this path, one of the other observation is the numbers of Jamaicans in MLS has dwindled significantly. There is a time when we had Javon Watson, we have Taylor, the center back, we had Shavar, we had Mattox, we had Blake, we had Ricketts. I mean, we had so many names. Now I think there are only 5 Jamaicans: Kemar Lawrence, Alvas Powell, Corey Burke, Damian Lowe, and Andre Blake. All right. What are the contributing factors to the dwindling numbers?
Well,
is it a shift in MLS policy, or it is the quality of play in the Caribbean in general in comparison to, because you probably can get better talent elsewhere, or is it just?
Well, I think it might be both. I think you brought up an interesting point. The first one,
Somebody's reminding me that there's Javian Brown at Vancouver and O'Neill Fisher.
Right. Where's Fisher? Minnesota? I think so. Yeah. He was in LA last year. I think he's in Minnesota now. I think there's a question as to what is happening with the young players in Jamaica. Where's the talent level? Obviously, some players have gone straight to England. Some players have gone to different countries. Maybe for whatever reason, they're trying their luck other places. Maybe there's less players of that ability. That I don't know. I'm hypothesizing. That could be a possibility. But one of the things could be as well, even when I came through, the league wasn't spending that much money on players. And things have changed drastically. The league is so different even than when I played. My last year playing was 2005. And the league has changed drastically since then. And there's so much more money that as a league that was very, very bargain oriented, Jamaica was a place where you could get very talented players for not so much money. And whereas now they have more money, maybe now the choices are, as I said, it used to be aging superstars, but Atlanta really did this some years ago. And I think everybody is now trying to do the same. Dallas did well the last couple of years. Atlanta brought in young, talented South American players, did well with them. I think Miguel Almiron, who's at Newcastle now. He came. I think they paid $8 million for him. And we're like, wow, that's unbelievable. That's a lot of money to pay for a player. Nobody was doing that then. But then they sold him 2 years later for it's either 22 or 32 million. I can't remember what it was. So now the focus when they're looking for young players, they're looking for young players that they think have an upside, and they're now willing to pay. Instead of back in our days where they would have paid, very small money to get players, now they're actually willing to spend $4, $5, $6, $10 million on players because they think it is going to pay off in the back end. So maybe that's a case that Jamaican players, Caribbean players are somewhat overlooked now because they feel like they don't need to bargain shop anymore. They can go and buy big names. But I've always felt, as we spoke about, there's so much talent in Jamaica. And it's a matter of how do we turn that talent into world talent and they can go and prosper around the world and that sort of thing. That's always been something that I've thought since I left.
Yeah, that there's a lot of talent. So what, and we had this discussion earlier, and there's an actual book that says talent is not enough, right? So what needs to happen so we can see the talent? Because I'm some person. I must say, there are a couple of the names. Tyler Blackett. Somebody said that he's Jamaican. Not familiar with the name. And I see you forget about Akil Barrett.
Oh, I haven't heard that name in a while. I don't know where he is. I remember him coming out of college. I don't know where he is right now.
Yeah, and Ravel Morrison just moved there as well. So, because Ravel Morrison is a Jamaican,
Okay.
but it's still not enough
Right.
to where. I mean, I used to watch MLS because I used to see Tyrone Marshall and Woldy Harris, and these guys I used to see them. Andy Williams at Real Salt Lake. I used to see players that I'm familiar with. I only see like just a few. So I'm saying that the numbers are not the same. And there's also the players going into Europe. And I think Chris Roman, one of the persons commenting, says it that a lot of Jamaicans are opting to go into Europe to what I call the market. Like I think the MLS is a better market.
Than some of the lower leagues around Europe.
Exactly. And I think, I don't know that it is the MLS job to market their league, to say to players who think like the lower leagues in Europe are better. But many Jamaicans have been opting to go to some league in Europe where you really get lost in the system, especially when the national team is not able to track you. Like it feels to me like MLS is closer.
Accessible. Yeah, it's accessible.
Yeah.
But you know what is true, as you're saying that, I'm starting to think about it. For the reasons that we talked about, maybe MLS isn't knocking on Jamaican players' doors as much, and therefore they want to go and apply their trade somewhere. And things come up in second division, Croatia or Serbia, or things like that, and they think it's an opportunity because it is Europe. It's an opportunity to go to Europe. And we all grew up going, oh, we just want to go to Europe. We want to go to Europe. And as I've gotten older, I mean, it's taken me a long time to realize this, and the league has grown, that the MLS is a better option than a lot of lower leagues in Europe in terms of getting paid consistently, in terms of getting paid more, in terms of facilities and infrastructure. MLS has improved so much. Even from 2005 when I played, there were 2 soccer specific stadiums in the league, and now I think there may be, off the top of my head, I don't know, there's 2 or 3 football stadiums, and the rest of it is now actual soccer stadiums. And the infrastructure of the league has grown so much in the time that MLS continues to become a better and better option.
You see this comment? It says they have an international limit versus the roster, and it's difficult.
And it's difficult to get in. So most teams have anywhere between 7 and 9 international spots. And I remember when that number first came out, we said, and they're going to fill up the whole team with internationals, and American players are going to have less opportunities. Obviously, Caribbean players are going to have less opportunities. But at the end of the day, there are still opportunities there. There's enough money there isn't enough money to fill all 9 international spots with all big time players. Nobody can really do that. So there are opportunities there, but there is a limit, yes. But there are limits in other countries as well. And so I think there are a lot of factors going into why there are less Jamaicans now. And
there's a conspiracy theory as well,
Yeah.
The conspiracy theory is that the USA didn't qualify for the World Cup. The gap is closing, and the gap is closing between the USA and teams like Jamaica and those teams. And maybe the MLS was helping to sharpen the skills of the Caribbean players. So the best way. So there is that conspiracy theory, but I don't think it makes any sense. You understand me? But there are many people actually believe that though.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thought. But I will say this: I'm sure somewhere along the line I've had those discussions with the fact that part of Jamaica's prowess over the last number of years was the number of players in the league, the Andys and Tyrones and Woldy and those people, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, everybody is trying to win. Everybody's trying to win. Nobody is staying away from certain players because they don't want the national team to suffer. Listen, as individual coaches, our concern is our team and we're trying to win games, period.
Yeah.
So I don't personally subscribe to that theory.
Yeah, all right. Enough respect to Mr. Robin Fraser. I remember when you came to Toronto FC as part of Greg Vanny's coaching staff as his assistant and won us the MLS Cup. Enough respect every time.
Appreciate it. Yeah, man. Toronto was a fantastic stop along the way. And that was actually my first, maybe my second experience with a club that is willing to pay big money. And in Toronto, we brought in Sebastian Giovinco from Juventus. Must have paid him $8 million a year. And then Jose Altidore came from somewhere, Sunderland, and they had already got Michael Bradley in. And when you have good coaching, good mentality of the players, and you're willing to spend money, and you get good quality players and good quality people, it can be a very, very formidable team you can put together. And in Toronto, we had a very, very good team. We're a penalty kick away from winning CONCACAF Champions League as well. So it's a team that was very, very good. And I was very proud to be a part of that. And Greg and I are very, very close friends, having played from year one of MLS with the Galaxy.
Okay, all right. I'm going to take this next question, then we'll go to the journey because they haven't heard all your coaching documents and stuff.
Yeah.
We don't get all your stats for playing it, but we just go see how quick we can go. Ask him what's a right age for a player to leave the JPL to play at a higher level. In his opinion, I think that should be the JPL is the Jamaica Premier League. Like if a player's in Jamaica, he's asking what is the right age for a player to leave Jamaica so that talent can be nurtured.
Honestly, the younger the better, it seems like these days. Everybody's going young. And even with regards to the college and the professional pathways are two very different pathways now. And as somebody who grew up in a very education-oriented home, it's still hard for me to wrap my head around a 16-year-old shouldn't go to college, but he should go and play professionally. But that is where that's where the sport has gone. And the sooner you get into a proper professional environment, the better chance you have to be prepared by the time you're, 21, 22. And honestly, the feeling now is at 24, people are considering you too old to transfer to, say, Europe. And so if you want to come to the US and it's really part of a plan to then go on to big clubs in Europe, then the sooner you get here, the better, because I don't know when it happened, but all of a sudden 24, 25 is considered old. And I don't personally subscribe to that theory. I remember Bruce Arena told me something when I was 35 with the US team. He said, there are no old players and young players, just good players and bad players. And certainly if you're trying to win a championship, that's what you're looking at, is what is the best players. If you are in a club that is about trying to develop players and sell them and trying to make money for the club, and not all of them are that way, but some are, then the younger you get into it, the better.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to take one more question. Listen, if I've taken one from you already, you have to give somebody else a chance. All right, and then because you're so much to the story. Did he ever consider coaching for Jamaica, or let's say in Jamaica? So and if so, why didn't he apply? You don't know that he didn't apply, but that's
right. So I have never applied. I have always had interest in coaching Jamaica because I think coaching is one of the things that the country needs. When I look back and I said, what I said earlier is there's so much talent in the country. Why can't it develop? Because when I left, there was nothing really after Manning Cup. And, they had good players, really good players play up to the age of 17, 18, and then nothing really for them. So then there was nothing there. And I've always felt like, how do you first of all, keep those players engaged? Now there's a league there, which is great. But in terms of being competitive in the world, I think the coaching is a big part of it. I think the coaching has changed in the US, which is making the league better. The coaching has improved in the US, which is making the league better. Almost every coach in the US now, if he's American, played through the league and has 10 years of professional playing experience, some international experience, and it's getting better and better. I have always thought about how great it would be to coach Jamaica, and I would love to be able to do that at some point. Why didn't I ever apply? And you have to make money. You have to live, you know. So if I have an opportunity here, you know, the whole bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. The bird in the hand I've been very fortunate to have opportunities here in this country. And I've been very fortunate that they have gone well, by and large, over my coaching tenure. But I've always thought about, and this is part of why we're having this discussion today, is that this donation drive that we're looking to do.
Right.
I would love to. I've always wanted to help somehow, and don't really know how to.
Yes, all right. So now that you have segued into that, because Rockford is asking, who does he cheer for when Jamaica plays the US?
I don't really cheer. I don't cheer. I watch
don't-
soccer.
I could tell you that was going to be his answer.
No. But in truth, I don't really cheer for anybody. I watch soccer analytically, and like for me, Pep Guardiola is the best, and I will always love Man City and watch Man City. We were playing in a 3-4-3 most of the last year, and I was watching Chelsea because of Thomas Tuchel. So for me, football is about the game and not so much the emotion. I have played, in fact, the last game that I wore a U.S. national team jersey for I was on the bench. It was October 7th, 2001, and we beat Jamaica to qualify for the 2002 World Cup, and I never played again. So I've actually been on the field, played against Jamaica 2 or 3 times, and it is the weirdest feeling to stand there during the national anthem and listen to the Jamaica national anthem and wear a U.S. uniform. It's very, very strange.
How was the game? Did he actually play in a game against Jamaica?
Yeah, definitely. I played 1991, played against Jamaica. High Point, North Carolina, maybe a small game, a friendly. Didn't really mean anything. I was in Jamaica, but I wasn't dressed with the team. So, you know, whatever, 18 players dressed back then, and he had taken 23. So I went to Jamaica and sat in the stadium. Was I on the bench? I was on the bench, I think, and playing against Jamaica. It was a World Cup qualifier. I didn't play in that game. So I've been on the bench at least twice against Jamaica and played at least twice against Jamaica. So very, very strange experience.
I was going to ask if you sang the Jamaica anthem when it was played.
In my mind, what I could remember, definitely. Yeah, man, I always think about it. Eternal Father. Yeah, I could do the first verse, I think. I don't know if I remember beyond that.
All right, cool. I know you're also doing it. You spoke about it about donation. I know last year you were here with was it Woldy?
I wasn't there with Woldy last year. I didn't do anything with any donation or anything last year. Last year was the first year I came back to visit in a very, very long time.
Okay.
And loved it, and it may be a yearly thing now. Definitely not going to let 12 months go by without going to Jamaica again. But this opportunity came up where I was speaking with a woman who was she worked in the league. She worked at Real Salt Lake. I met her through an interview thing some years ago, and we stayed friendly. And as I said, I've always wanted to do something. I don't know how to help, but I want to do something to help. And she jumped on it, and she met with the people from Football for the World. And we started talking about the possibility of doing a donation drive and bringing some equipment to Jamaica and doing a clinic, whether that's, I mean, it's one thing to coach the kids, but I think the biggest thing is to influence the coaches. And so we're planning to bring gear down. We're planning to do a clinic for players and coaches while we're there. And Woldy and I are definitely looking forward to doing that. And a couple other guys apparently are potentially in line to help out as well.
And that is this year?
That is this year. That's December this year.
December?
Yeah.
Okay, that's when MLS is on break and...
Right. Well, yes. In fact, it will be during the World Cup. It will be during the World Cup. December 10th, I believe, is a tentative date, and it's all kind of coming together now. But it's something that I've wanted to be able to do for a while. And as I said, I've wanted to help in Jamaica because I feel like there are so many young, talented players. Maybe they don't have the opportunity. Maybe they don't have the equipment. And we want to do everything we can to help as many kids as we can have access to the game. And then the other side of it, the reasons for the clinics is want to do everything I can to help the country continue to move forward as a country, and I do think that coaching is a big part of it.
That is awesome. Do the MLS club, do they do like scouting trips are all of this is done online using like My Scout or
Why
Instat?
Scout? Yeah,
Yeah, or do they like
yeah.
come to Jamaica and or do they watch the game on television? Like for you, do you
I
watch the
think
league, like know that in off season to see? I wonder if there's a Jamaican somewhere, and in the same way, you probably watch other leagues, or that is not how it is done. It's more like, hey, we stick to our My Scout and we stick to
mm,
Instat and just work it from there.
no. I think you ask a very good question, and we ourselves, again, the league has evolved so much that the coaches themselves aren't doing that much scouting
Oh
anymore.
yes,
We
yes.
have scouts who go out and, players get narrowed down, and then it finally comes to us as kind of the last few players. But I feel like Jamaica more think about word of mouth. In fact, it's funny. Um, Lauren told me about Kamar Lawrence when I was in New York, and I told the people in charge at the time, and they didn't really think much of it. And I think it was a year that I left and went to Toronto. New York Red Bulls picked up Kamar Lawrence. And my point is word of mouth. So this was Lon coming to me and telling me about him. And Lon, I use
Yeah,
Lon as a resource from time to time. He tells me about players that are there. But we don't actively, consistently go and scout in Jamaica. I think the feeling is that among ourselves is that we know some people and we'll hear about things, and we have players down or people down there tell us about players, and we'll investigate and do our due diligence and that sort of thing. But in terms of just coming down to Jamaica to scout, we don't. I think some clubs might, but I think it also depends on the resources that you have.
yeah, yeah. All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Mr. Porter, then Tough Rudy says, I sometimes live my dream through my kids. So please consider doing that with your daughter. She can wear the uniform and listen to Anthem. I think that's I don't think that's just down to
So,
Coach Robin Fraser alone,
yeah.
you know.
Listen, I never played in a World Cup, so right now, if she plays it at all, she's gonna be ahead of me. I never scored for the national team. She scored at that thing in CONCACAF, so
Yes.
she already has more goals for the US than I do. So in terms of living the dream, that's all I can do at this point.
El Graniero says, so Robin, maybe you should enlighten Lauren about Nikki.
Lauren coaches Nikki every couple
Yeah,
of
that's what
days.
I'm telling you.
Nikki
That's
plays in Lauren's club.
for Lauren's club. That's
So
what he said earlier. So you don't
yeah,
need to.
man.
Maybe Lauren needs to enlighten him.
Listen,
You
man.
know.
Lon is good. Lon knows what he's doing, and if he wants Nikki, I'm sure he'll talk to her about it at some point. But
Do you follow the Jamaican national team? And I mean, I know we believe that we had uh, a generation of for the last World Cup campaign. We felt like as a team, man to man,
mhm,
we had enough good players in position with enough talent to have done a whole lot better. It
mm,
just totally, crumbled. And that is
really,
because of just logistics, organization, or disorganization, let's use that word,
right,
that
right,
led to that, right? But we
right.
still have so many young players now. We have like Leon Bailey, who is still young. Um,
Mm-hmm,
we have Kahim Paris, who just moved to Dynamo Kiev. We have
mm,
Shamar Nicholson at Spartak Moscow. So we have
mm,
all of these guys who are 25 and under in the
mm-hmm.
national team. I don't know if you follow the team, but we're playing against Argentina um, in a couple of days, and we have a new
Okay.
Icelandic coach. This is the coach, Hymir Hallgrimsson. He's the coach who
Mm-hmm.
took Iceland to the Euros and to the World Cup when they defeated, I think, England in the
Okay.
Euros. So he is just appointed a couple of weeks ago. I mean, how
So
important is uh, the function of the league to the national team? How important is MLS to US national team? Because I want to look at that in terms of how important is the league in Jamaica to our national team.
MLS is critical. MLS is critical to the national team because I would tell you now that the average American player is better than the average American player was 30 years ago. between the youth academies, the competitions that are being driven by the league and the youth academies within the league, and then the caliber of players that are coming in, the caliber of coaching that has occurred in the US. The league has been very, very instrumental in the development of the national team. You know, you talk about, I don't follow the Jamaica team that closely, but you talk about those players who are playing overseas and are individually really thriving and accomplishing a great deal. It's one thing for individual players to do it, but they still need to come back and be able to assimilate. There needs to be an organized, structured team in place that they can come into and use the experience that they're getting overseas to help bring this team up. But I don't think you're going to be successful if you have 2, 3, 4 players who are playing around the world in big leagues, and at home there's no real infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, when they come back, they can only do so much. I mean, there's so many things that go into a team being a successful professional team or a successful national team at that level, that to have 1 or 2 good players drop in, we just talked about it, talent isn't enough, right? There needs to be something really in place. And I'm curious as to you know, the Icelandic coach and what he's done. I'm sure has been tremendous. But I feel also like there are some Jamaican coaches who have excelled and even been through the program and know the culture and know the people. And, you know, 2 that come to mind immediately are Tyrone and Woldy. And I don't know if they have interest in coaching the team, but just like you asked me, why is it players have a hard time overseas coming back to play? I would say the same thing for coaching.
Coaches,
because
could it be though? Could it be what you said earlier? That boy,
that? I mean,
no. Maybe those guys have to say, listen, come into Jamaica to work. Like what they're going to pay me, I have to stay in here and, you know, get the butter. And then when I have enough of the butter, then I can.
Then you can do what your heart wants to do.
Yeah.
But
you have to fill your pocket first before you follow your heart, man.
But I'm guessing the Icelandic coach isn't coming just for the love of the game. I'm assuming that he's getting paid too. And listen, I see Woldy every day, and when I tell you Woldy is good, I mean really, really good. And you know, these opportunities come and go. You know, you have different windows where you're looking for coaches and this and that. And I've known Tyrone a long time, and Tyrone is another one that's really good. And I just look at guys who have experience, international experience, played for the national team, lived and played in another country in the US. Woldy has been to Sweden and El Salvador. I mean, that there are people out there, there are Jamaicans out there that have a wealth of experience. I'm just curious as to why they're not involved in the national team process.
Yeah, I've always said that even if you're not at that stage, I'd plug some of these guys at the developmental. You know, Arsene Wenger likes to say, he likes saying that put your best coaches at the lowest levels, right?
I wonder if anybody ever does that, because I agree, but the lowest levels don't pay the most.
Right? Well, that is true.
Truthfully, that is where, if we really want to make advances, put your best coaches at the youngest age groups, and you instill the right levels of discipline and technical and tactical thought.
But it doesn't pay.
I don't think so. I think it's a problem at anywhere. But if you really, really want to see improvement, that's where you have to start.
Because really I'd say plug, if I can plug one of those guys you just mentioned, under 17, under 20, under 23, and say they become a part of a panel, even if they're not the senior coach, but they, because I think a lot of these guys, like I said, I've seen some of them, and they work in academies that are doing well also in the States. And I think like the coaching education and the proper coaching of our players. Because too often we hear that our players go on trials and they come back to Jamaica, which really saying that there's something either professionally, technically, or tactically, or maybe physically, that is not right with their game.
Right. And it's a very, very good point, because you have, you know, there are opportunities, and players do get opportunities no matter where you're from. And I always feel like at the end of the day, you have to prepare yourself for what you're going into. And if talented young players are leaving Jamaica and going away and then end up coming back to Jamaica very quickly, then it would seem that they're not as prepared for the environment that they're going into. And if they're not as prepared, then you have to wonder what is happening on the coaching front. What is their environment like in Jamaica? Because I do believe that part of coaching too is the game. The game is modernizing. The game is changing. It's constantly evolving, and therefore you have to be able to prepare your players for this in whatever new nuance is happening within the game, or nuances that are happening within the game. That players have to be prepared for that. And I just don't. I honestly don't know. It's a question. I don't know what the coaching is like in Jamaica, but I do know that there's a lot of talent at very young ages. And I don't see a ton of the talent going and thriving in other countries and in other environments. So it makes me wonder what is going on that is prohibiting them from succeeding or thriving in other environments.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have a youngster. I know you don't follow the national team. Someone said just bring up his name. His name is Richard King. He is one of the young center backs that came into the World Cup campaign and did very, very well. He plays at a local club called Cavalier. Heard that there are major league offers on the table for him. Don't know from what clubs, but I figure it can't be for this season, because the league is ending.
Right.
But I'm wondering, because I've heard, this is what we have heard from players sometimes, that what the clubs want to pay to the Jamaican clubs, the clubs in Jamaica don't think is sufficient. And so sometimes players get stuck with the clubs in Jamaica because I suspect like the major league clubs are saying, listen, I can find talent elsewhere, just like this, at a lower rate. Right. And so there is also that conflict that end up causing some players to be stuck here. Which my personal belief is, if I have a player that is in the national team, I just trying to figure out though. Say somebody offers me 30,000 US. I can say, all right, go, but let the club know that if you move him on to some other club, then maybe I can benefit, like with the sell-on clause. But to keep the player, if I keep the player for 10 years, I would not be able to give the player that amount of money in Jamaica as salary anyways. So why not allow the player to go? He will develop, you understand me? And you get some money anyways. And that is part of, I think, the conversation that needs to be had, probably with the persons who run the clubs in Jamaica on a whole, that you have to look at it, because you're waiting on opportunities in Europe.
Right. And I think that what you're saying is probably very, very true, and it's unfortunate. And maybe and I said it's kind of tongue in cheek, if your livelihood depended on how your team did, maybe you wouldn't be so altruistic and want to do what's best for the player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think, and if you talk about benefiting the national team, then probably one of the best things you can do for the national team is allow players who are thriving to go on to bigger environments, because they're only going to improve, and once they improve, they're only going to help the national team do better. But at the end of the day, and I don't know what these figures are, people have to feel comfortable with giving up a player for this much money. And probably a part of it has to be, this is probably what's best for the player as well. But the question is, how many coaches and clubs are thinking of the players first?
Yeah. The other thing that I want, is there a base salary? Because I think the highest, probably the highest salary in our league is 180,000 Jamaican. Now that don't make no sense to you, which is like 1,000, like 1,200 US. Yeah, let me just calculate. Yeah, 12. I think the highest paid player in the Jamaican Premier League gets around 1,200 US.
1,200 a month?
A month. All right. Which is a so what I want to ask you, does the MLS have
A
base
minimum
salary.
salary.
Minimum, like
minimum salary.
yeah, like a minimum salary that you, no matter if it's an amateur, semi-pro, coming out of high school, out of college, they cannot get below this. Is there a minimum salary?
Yeah, I
Or
believe
that
that
different?
number.
That's different for every club. What that minimum
No, there's a league minimum, and I believe that's somewhere around $85,000 or $88,000 a year.
a year? 88,000 a year.
I
Let me
think so.
just divide that. You know, 88,000 a year divided by 12. That's like 7,000.
Yeah.
That's like
So the
that's
minimum in the league when the league started was 24,000. That was the minimum salary in the league, was 24,000, and they had some developmental contracts that were slightly less. But as the league has grown and prospered, that minimum salary has gone up, and I believe the minimum salary now is 80, 85, 88, something like that. I don't know if Tyrone is listening now and knows better than me.
Whoa. So, that's part of the problem where I think the players need to move. Your base salary is $6,000 more than our max salary.
Right. I mean, if you have an opportunity here, I would hate for a player to have an opportunity here and have it be denied.
Yeah. All right. This person saying, I am sure sports is a different bases in the MLS. The 1 to 20 slot is different from the 20 to 24 and then the 25 to 28. Yeah. Rob Smith says, what do you think about the current Jamaican players in the MLS? Blake, Lowe, Taxi, and Company. And have you ever coached a Jamaican player?
Andy. I was an assistant coach at Real Salt Lake. I had Andy for a couple of years.
Andy was there?
Yeah, man.
Where the Baba was here? Tell me about the Baba, because he's always laughing and you.
Listen, man. So in the years that I was playing against Andy, the knock on him always was, well, he was skilled, but him don't work hard. Well, he was skilled, but him don't defend. And you see at Real Salt Lake, man, I saw a different Andy, because the way the team functioned, it's a very unselfish, hardworking team. And Andy was a great part of that team. Very, very talented. Did a lot going forward and was asked to work a lot defensively, and he did it. And I think when a setup makes sense, then players realize that if they do their part, the whole team may go up. And I thought with us, Andy was very, very good. For the time I was there, Andy was very good. And I'm sure looking back, there was always speculation, but I don't know. Don't know if Andy going to be able to do this. There's so much running involved and defending, and he was a fantastic part of that team that won a championship in 2009. And he played several years for RSL and was very, very good.
Yeah, I think that was the best part of his career when he was at RSL.
Yeah, I felt like Andy moved around a lot in the earlier part of his career, and he got to RSL and really he excelled. So there was no way we were going to get rid of him, and he stayed there for a long time. In answer to the question that was asked before, Andre Blake is unbelievable. He is.
How highly rated is he in MLS soccer as a goal?
He is generally seen as probably the best goalkeeper in the league. His shot stopping ability is like none other. His ability to make saves and pull off the unbelievable save. He pulls off more unbelievable saves than any goalkeeper in the league. I would say that. And I would say the knock on him early on was maybe he made unbelievable saves but gave up soft ones. And these days, I just don't feel like that happens very much. I think he has turned into a very complete goalkeeper.
I think the one struggle that we have in Jamaica is his distribution.
With his feet?
Yeah. But it's funny because with his team, Philadelphia, he doesn't have that problem.
Maybe it's the fields down there.
No, maybe it's the system. Maybe it's the system. I always tell people, I think it is the system of play.
I don't know what's being asked of him, so it's hard. I can't comment on that.
Yeah,
I can just say that in this league, he excels and he thrives.
What about Damian Lowe? Because Damian Lowe, is one of our hardcore defenders. He's like the Andrew Price.
Yeah, interesting. I knew Ezra Hendrickson, who's from St. Vincent and was an assistant coach in Seattle for a long time. He's now the head coach in Chicago. He had him with the Seattle 2 team, and we used to talk about him, and he said he's hard and definitely a physical sort of dominating defender, but he was a little erratic at the time. And then I just lost track of him. I guess he must have gone overseas or somewhere, and now he has come back and resurfaced in Miami. And it seems that he's doing quite well. I don't watch Eastern Conference very often because we don't cross over very much. And Miami's been in the league, I think it's their 3rd year, and I've never played against them. So I just don't watch him that closely. But my understanding is he's doing quite well and has matured a lot since his days when he was at Seattle and Seattle second team and that sort of thing. So he's a player who, how old is he now? Damian Lowe.
He's around 26, 20, 27, somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm still young. For a centre back, I'm still young. I mean, I played until a month before my 39th birthday. So Damian Lowe has a long time left to play.
All right, awesome. Listen, what is your coaching philosophy? If we were to come and watch Robin Fraser coach, he's 28, a senior team, a girls team, under 17 team, and under 20 team. Here are the 5 things that we would see that is consistent with his teams. Maybe it's not 5, maybe it's 3. If 5 is
no.
Yeah.
So I got asked this question a lot when I was hired in Colorado. Well, what's your style? What's your style of play? And it's an oversimplification to say I want a thinking team, because at the end of the day, for me, you talk about what is my philosophy. The game is all about numbers. How many numbers do we have versus how many numbers they have? How many numbers do we have when we have the ball and they don't versus how many numbers do they have in the area? Defensively, how many numbers do they have? How many numbers do we have? Because for me, that dictates everything. If you look at, well, I won't go there, but for me, the attacking side of it, when I say it's thinking, it's all about manipulation on numbers. If I have a 3v2 to start an attack, I 100% know how I'm going to start that attack. I know what that should look like. If I have a 2 versus 1, the pressuring with 1 forward, pressuring with 2 forwards, pressuring with 3 forwards, we know how we want to arrange our numbers to manipulate them to be able to get beyond that first line. And then in the attack, some very, very clear philosophies. And this is probably the biggest, maybe the biggest maturation of me as a coach, is I think everybody has an idea of, you always hear people talk about, I like to knock the ball around and this and that and that. That don't mean nothing to me, because everything has to be purposeful. And what the part of my game that is, or part of my coaching that is now better than it was 10 years ago, is I know exactly how I want my attacks to finish. I know exactly in every scenario how I want my attacks to finish. And if you can deviate from that and do something great, fantastic. But you have a system in place where everybody knows where everybody needs to be. And in order to play the ball fast, you have to know where your teammates are. So the positional setup is absolutely critical, because, ball goes from player A to player B. Player B already knows where he's going with the ball. And he doesn't have to look to know that a player is going to be there. A player has to be there. And that sort of positional play for me has changed my philosophy and has changed the game. And that was the thing that Pep did with that 2011 team that was different than any other coach. I've never seen a team with positional discipline like that. So I coached Thierry Henry at New York Red Bulls. I was an assistant coach there. And he and I had many discussions about playing for Pep. And, a simple thing
right, because he left Arsenal and went to Barcelona. Yes.
So, they had very, very specific positional requirements. And as a left winger, he was to stay as high and wide as possible, and not to come inside. Pep was telling him not to come inside. And Thierry looked at me and says, why can't I go inside? I'm a good player. I want to play too. And Pep is telling him, if you come inside, you're going to crowd up Iniesta's space. Stay outside. And he was so pissed when he first got there. But when he saw how the system worked, and when Iniesta got the ball with time and saw the runs that Thierry was able to make based on the spacing and the indecision caused the other team by the spacing, he became a believer. Thierry's a big, big Pep fan now. But initially, he was like, "Why can't I go inside? I'm a good player. I want to play too." But then when you go through and you understand positional play and you're in it and you see how it works and you see how it disrupts and causes confusion for the defending group, it's a game changer. But everybody has to be on the same page. Everybody has to understand that. And then defensively, you talk about characteristics of my teams. Defensively, we will always be taking away certain things, encourage, because if you can take away anything, then you have made the play more predictable for yourself defensively. But if you don't take away anything, meaning every player can go left or go right when you're playing against them, then how do you defend that? We use an expression all the time. A blanket can't cover all of you, right? So you can't cover everything. So if your blanket is up here, your toes are exposed. If your blanket is covering your toes, your
Right.
head's exposed. So you have to know what you're giving up. And if you give up if you give up left or right every single time, you're going to lose every game. But if you can make it predictable for yourself defensively, then now I don't have to defend as much in the middle or on the right. If those are things I'm taking away, I know the ball is going to the left, and now I can concentrate on my defending on the left. So that's why I said so much of it is about thinking, and everybody thinks about the technical and physical abilities of players. For me, the players who make it at the very, very top are the ones who can think the best and think the fastest.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a lot of pep, system of play and possessional play and all of that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. This is such a good conversation. Again, so you come into Jamaica in December, and because there's a couple of coaches here, and one coach said put me up for that coaching development thing. So you're coming to do a clinic. It's going
Yes.
to be in Kingston. How do people register? Are you going to give me some information to pass
You
on
know
to them
what?
at some point so they can register, sign up for it? If they live like in Westmoreland and you're going to be in Kingston, how do they get there? I mean, what and all of
So
those kind of stuff.
So all of this is still in the works. And
Okay.
as soon as things are finalized, I will definitely make sure I get information to you because this podcast is brilliant. So I'm
Yeah.
going to get information to you so you can get information out. And I would love it. I would love every coach who is open-minded and willing to look at different things and just hear from different coaches to come out and see
Yeah.
because
And I
the
just
game
want to put
is
it out there to you, right? Because a lot of times when we meet with the coaches, and we have Andrew Edwards who come on sometimes, and he brings on, like we had Gus Williams from the Irish Football Association. We had the Swedish coach, so we bring on different coaches, and part of the plan is that to have coaches. So but you probably a lot of them are because you could actually do a presentation
mm,
about a so say you finish the thing in Jamaica and you want to do a follow-up, we can use this where the coaches can come on and you do a 30
okay
minute presentation to them
through this forum.
through, right,
Yes,
right, through
yes,
this using slides and using slides and like behind you now, you could use a camera and put it on the board behind you and move markers and use right, so we can do all of that. So it's something
okay,
for you to consider.
okay.
um yeah,
I would,
going ahead, but we love to
listen. I would
support.
love to do that. I
Yeah,
would
if
love to do
there's
that. Okay.
yeah.
I think there is so much in coaching now, and there's so much detail in coaching now that I would love to definitely share that as much as I can in Jamaica. At the end of the day, what I really want is Jamaica to thrive and to become a world power. You know what I mean? That's what I would love more than anything. And I think that is going to start with the coaching and the discipline and all the things. There's definitely, as we talked about, there is no youth developmental steps. It's
Yeah,
Alberta Cup and primary school football. So there'll always be some challenges until the infrastructure changes. But I do think the one thing we should change what we can change. And if anything, that's making coaches just open their minds to maybe more and different philosophies.
I sit here and I say to myself, we have all these brilliant minds who love Jamaica, and our football need so much help,
Right.
and we have the intellectual capital just lingering in the United States,
Yeah.
and we're not tapping into it. I
Right.
can listen. I'm gonna call 10. I'm going to name you, Tyrone Marshall, Woolley Harris,
Mm,
Shavar Thomas,
mm,
Andy Williams, Gregory Simmons, Ultimate Butler, Paul Young, right? Desmond Smith, that's Desmond
mm,
Gaddafi Smith, Chipper
mm,
Morgan. That's
mm,
10 names, and I haven't called all the names yet. I haven't
mhm,
remember Lauren Donaldson is still there, you means it,
mhm.
all of those
Yeah,
guys, Paul
yeah.
Campbell, the goalkeeper, Paul Bennett, all of these guys, Huntley Swaby, goalkeeper coach out there, all of these guys, and so many more. And I hear
Mm,
sitting, why is there such a big deficit in Dean Sewell? Why is there? I
right,
mean, I could go on and on. And
right.
a lot of these guys have also played for, all of them have represented the national team. And
Mm-hmm,
they are a phone call away, a text message away
mm-hmm,
to say, come and meet with these 6 coaches
right,
and teach them something.
right. I would love to listen. I would love to be able to make some sort of a difference in Jamaica. I mean, I've been gone since
Lenny
1977.
Taylor, oh my Lord.
Yeah, there's
Valney
another
Brown.
one.
I could go on and on and on
Another
and just name names. And these are persons I've interviewed who say the same thing like you, Robin. And I
one.
keep on saying that maybe, and Tyrone told me, that he was going to do it, He's going to find a way, and Freddie Butler said that they were going to find a way to have like some sort of group. And
Yeah.
maybe because those guys are actually planning on coming to Jamaica in November. They,
Okay.
they, they have a project that they are going to just bring soccer shoes and just go to different places and just tell kids to put them on
Okay.
into the deep, just go into the room, anyone that fits you, it's yours, and
Okay.
take a ball and just have them play football, because
Yeah.
part of the issue is there are kids still playing with all the talent you speak about who play in their school shoes,
Yeah.
and when
Yeah.
they go home they get beaten from their parents, it's a Jamaican thing.
Right. 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 Of course.
you know,
Of course.
right? And so
Yeah.
they're just bringing soccer shoes, and they're saying, "Listen, just try it on. If it fits you, you keep it."
Right.
And I'm saying
Right.
all of that is there, and we are just not tapping into it to listen to the wisdom and the way you think the football.
Mm.
It's available. It's not like you are in Afghanistan and
No.
but you're
No.
just right. You're next door. You're a
Right.
man from Miami. How far? Florida. That's not far.
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
let's make it
So
happen, man. Let's make it
yeah,
happen. But
man.
anything we can do to, yeah.
As the plans unfold and become more concrete, I'll tell you right now, the thought is December 10th, somewhere in Kingston. I know somebody at Waterhouse and Arnett Gardens, so it could be in one of those two places.
Yeah.
But when I get details, as soon as I get details, I'm gonna make sure you get them, because um, I would love to have people come out and just hear, and just like I said, I don't say I know everything, but just open your mind to a different thought or a different voice. And you might take I might say 10 things, but one thing might resonate and might help you.
Yeah.
And then just, we do what we can that way. See if we can
Yeah.
help people
Listen,
that way.
I just learned something about the numbers.
Yeah.
So it's a numbers game.
For me,
So
it
when
is.
you're
That's how I
attacking,
see it.
if you have an overload on one side, how are we going to use that? And that's it.
Exactly.
Make it about the numbers in those areas. I mean, so
Exactly.
you learn stuff. You learn that. Listen, you have to give up something. You always tell people you can't defend the entire field.
You can't cover everything. It's not possible.
Yeah,
So you try and make it as predictable for yourself as possible and as difficult for them to get to all of their options as possible.
yeah.
And if you do that, you cut down half of your own work and half of you thinking about things that don't matter. So,
Yeah, you see what? I know that this was going to come up. You see, he's a coach at one of the schools down in the rural areas, think out in Manchester,
so
Clarendon.
in terms of the clinic, again, it's just a contact of somewhere that I know somebody. But in terms of distributing gear, I want to make sure, because I think we've collected quite a bit, and there's more. Well, our final home game is next week Saturday, and one of our supporter groups is now on it, and they're calling their people to arms to come and donate more stuff. So I think we're gonna have a lot of gear.
We'll work it
And
out. Yeah,
we'll figure out how we distribute that for sure. And in terms of why the clinic is Kingston, we can only really do one day. And like I said, I know somebody who I know somebody who is involved at Waterhouse. So I believe that is how that has come
Yeah,
about.
and like I said, that there is an opportunity. I will keep in touch with Coach Robin. So because there is opportunity to do something online as
Right.
well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we can do something online at some point
Yes.
to capture a wider
Yeah.
group of persons and stuff. And that way it's all yeah.
And honestly, I feel like for the kids, we want to donate equipment so they have equipment for the exact reason that you just said, so that they have equipment to go and play. But for the coaches, the more you can reach, and if online is the best way to reach people, it is almost like, I mean, I don't have time to do an actual course and do coursework and follow up and that sort of thing. But the more coaches you can reach, and just like I said, if you spark any different thought within their heads, then that's progress. And that's all we're trying to do is progress the game in Jamaica.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I mean, this has been a very, very good conversation. I wish we could go on and on and on
Yeah,
and
man.
on and on. But
Yeah, man.
I know you're
Yeah, man.
busy.
Listen,
Yeah,
when you uh, please have me on again anytime you want to chat and this, have me on again, and then we try to
definitely.
work out something with the online kind of coaching ideas, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we'll do that because you can just take something transition in play, whatever it is,
Hmm.
looking at the what they call it, the pillars of defending, whether it's
Yeah, everybody has their principles that they believe
yeah,
in,
there
and
you
I would
go.
love to talk about my principles. I would
There you
love
go.
to. I
So
mean,
we'll do that. We'll do that. But
all
thank you
right.
so much. It is what now? For in
Five, what
Colorado.
time?
It's
5 o'clock here.
five
Five
o'clock
o'clock
in Colorado. In the
here.
what they call it, Mile High City. I wonder
Yeah.
how
My
the Denver
eyes.
Broncos are going.
They're playing today. I don't even follow them.
Yeah. I am sure sports asks Robin. All right, listen, just get in your questions quickly and then we'll go. All right. I am sure ask Robin if the Generation Adidas program is the best way for our young Jamaican players to get into the MLS. My final question. Loving the program.
The Generation Adidas program is,
Is that still going on?
well, that's what I was going to say.
Is that going on?
It is, it is difficult, I think, there is no set path for Jamaicans to get in. There's no set path for people from other countries to get in. Obviously, what used to be the Generation Adidas program was about mostly finding young players and young players in this country. If you definitely had young players who came in. I think the one we spoke about at LAFC, I believe he was a
Um,
Generation
Peter
Adidas.
Peter Lee Vassell.
Peter Lee Vassell, I think he was a Generation Adidas. But again, you have to be known. You have to be some sort of a known entity somehow. And so if there are good young players, then they have to push to try to get them into the combine. I know they
Right,
used to have
right.
a
Because
Caribbean
he did the combines. Yeah, yeah,
combine.
yeah.
Right, which is where I first saw him. I think, I forget what year it was. But if there are good young players, try and push them and get them into the combine where they can be seen. I know there used to be Caribbean
But
combine.
but,
I don't
but
know
there's
if that's
MLS.
happening anymore.
There's also the MLS next door.
Right. And this is another thing that is where there are good opportunities and young players, especially because, like you said, we have the same problem here where in our academies, we got under 17 and we've done away with under 19. So between under 17 and the senior teams, there was no real
MLS.
developmental space, which is where the MLS Next program has come in,
Yeah.
Next Pro. And they're finishing the first year right now. I don't I don't think it's ideal, but at least there is something in place for young players. So 17, 18, 19, if there
Yeah,
are players
listen,
who
MLS
are
soccer has been so wise because what some of the clubs have done, I don't know if Colorado does the same thing, is that they use their MLS next team to play in the USL. So the second teams play in the USL. It's the USL Championship, I believe.
so
Uh,
that
you,
has changed. That has changed this year. Uh,
oh,
this year now, MLS Pro, MLS Next Pro, they're all playing in their own division. And it used to be that the second teams played in the USL. And in some
yes,
instances, that was great because you play against, older players. But in some
right.
instances, not so great because you play against, or, good, older, experienced players who maybe aren't quite good enough to be in the league anymore. But then the young teams, the teams that would feel 16, 17-year-olds would get smashed. So there's the fact that they are now playing more or less in their same age is good in that they have the chance to thrive, but they also do throw in some older players from time to time, which I think helps with their growth. Whether they're playing with or against some older players, it helps with their growth.
Yeah. All right. My name's man. Ask coach if he knows one Darlington Agu.
I do not. I do not. Who is that?
I don't have a clue. Please hit the like. Great show. Thanks, Robin. And I will be following your daughter progress, whether or not she plays for Jamaica. We need to.
I appreciate it. I
Coach
appreciate it.
Ron Donaldson, we're sending an SOS, so bring her to the World Cup. Bring her to the World Cup. Get her in from now. Bring her to the World Cup. Like how we brought Jody Brown. Bring her in.
Right, right. Listen, when they're on the 17 World Cup done, then it's a whole different. There's a whole different thing. Yes,
But
Andre Blake and Darren Maddox were Generation Adidas players for sure. Blake has gone well beyond that now. I'm not even sure where Darren Maddox is these days.
he's not playing. He retired from football. Listen, what? How? You can't. I cannot ask every question in an hour and a half. Come on, people. Listen, we haven't talked about his coaching. Listen, you don't realize that we have some questions, and
Right.
we
I didn't
haven't.
get to that.
We didn't get to the questions. You
That
realize?
just means that just means I'm have to come back. So
Yeah, there you go. Because I can't management ask the man how to develop the JPL so we can develop our own league and players. That you think that can be answered on the show right now?
that question cannot be answered. That's a week long answer right there.
There you go. So I promise you, Richard Green, that next time when we talk with Coach Robert Fraser, we will do that. I'm going to release him. It's Sunday. He needs to spend some time with the family over there in the
Exactly.
Mile High City. Though
Exactly.
they are not in the playoff this season, we're going to keep following his coaching career
Yeah,
and
man.
stuff. And remember, December the 10th, he will be in Jamaica. But before that, we're going to be talking so we can get all the details as to what he's doing. All right. Maybe if you can come up with a good name for a foundation, right, to give to him, he'll probably give you a Colorado Rapids jersey. I don't know, or a
Can do that.
scarf or something. I think because his name is Robin, we don't want to call it the Robin Hood Foundation. We want to call it the Robin Yard Foundation. So maybe you should come up with something nice and tell him, and if he likes it, then you don't know. He'll probably use it.
We can bring something down if that's the case. All
There you
right.
go. There you go. Yeah.
Thanks, here, man. I appreciate it. I really appreciate the time. And like I said, I look forward to coming back and we do this again and we do it with some coaching subtleties or, and we'll see what we can do next time.
All right, coach. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day and all the best to your daughter at the Under 17 World Cup. We'll be watching her. You know that she will be our Jamaica because we did not make it. So we're watching her. We don't care about the team. We're
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
her because that's
I
it.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. And she will appreciate it too.
Yeah,
So,
definitely, definitely, definitely.
okay.
Yeah, man. All right, bless you.
Yeah.
All right,
All
all
right,
right.
man.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye bye.
All right, so there you go, people. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for tuning in, for being a part of it. It was so good interacting with you as you interacted with our special guest coach, Robin Fraser. We will have him back on. Um, yeah, and we are going to also try to get him on as part of our panel for our World Cup shows. So that is something that is coming as well to I Am Sure Sports. As usual, we ask you to hit the like button. If you have not done so yet, you have to do that, right? We want when he watches it back with his family, he not just sees the comments, but he also sees all the people who have hit that like button. So go ahead, hit the like button, share it with someone else. And if you have not yet subscribed to I Am Sure Sports, please go ahead and do so. This has been our Sunday interview. I am Manningsman. This has been I Am Sure Sports. And as usual, when it gets to this point, we say we are over and we are OUT out.
Yo, watch about dog, SK New Era this. The body out there, Sniper King I represent for I Am Sure Sports. You get to me, I say, when you want the latest news and sports and updates and all of that, check out I Am Sure Sports. You know the thing goes in. Remember, you cover the whole island. Remember Kingston, Westmoreland, Galchester, Ocho-Rios, Galtigo Bay. Everywhere. I Am Sure Sports. Check it out for the latest news and latest updates. Sniper King I represent. Where them feel like? Ha. Yeah, someone on for the food from young, from where they knee height. I Am Sure Sports. Yeah, dog.